An indoor weapons range is available to teach the principles of rifle and pistol marksmanship. Training here qualifies the reservists to teach this subject to new recruits at an outdoor range when the training division moves into an Army post and takes over the training mission of the active Army. The weekly drills in the center culminate in a summer program of field training for approximately 2 weeks. Upon arrival at a regular Army post, the entire training division has an opportunity to work together as a complete unit, as they would under wartime conditions. At last, they are fulfilling their mission to take over recruit training from the regular Army. Before relinquishing their duties to the reservists, the regular Army instructors observe them at work to ensure they are fully qualified to instruct in their subject. The job of making soldiers out of basic trainees is then turned over to the Army reservists. Bayonet training takes real skill. Teaching it takes even more. In the close-up fighting of jungle warfare, a thorough knowledge of hand-to-hand combat can make the difference between life and death. At first, the Army reservist gives hand grenade instruction using practice grenades. Later, live grenades are used, and every safety precaution is taken to prevent accidents. Although these are training mines, the men are taught to lay a minefield as though they were the real article. Each step of the job is conducted with caution, as though one false move could mean disaster. Crawling under the barbed wire of the infiltration course is tough. But after the trainees are warned by the Army Reserve instructor that they are crawling under a curtain of live machine gun fire, they quickly learn to keep their heads close to Mother Earth. In other parts of the training area, other subjects, such as driver testing, go on under the watchful eye of the reserve instructor. The Army reservists conduct a wire school for the trainees. Here they are taught the tricks of pole climbing and how to string telephone lines. Wire laying on the ground for field telephone communication is also part of the instruction. The easy living of civilian life has put plenty of soft lard where hard muscles ought to be. Daily periods of intensive physical training will soon get the men into fighting shape. In the mess hall, ample chow is ready for hearty appetites. The meals are well planned and in many cases more nutritional than Mom's. To hungry warriors, it hits the spot. Throughout the training cycle, the commanding general and his staff inspect the quality of the instruction. Senior officers of the regular Army are frequent observers in the training areas. The highlight of annual active duty is when Army Reserve troops pass in review before the discerning eyes of the commanders and civilian guests. During the summer, while the training divisions are in the field, many other Army Reserve units of all types report to Army posts throughout the country for their annual active duty training. What they've learned during the previous year is tested under simulated battle conditions. For example, quartermaster units, ever anxious to speed up delivery of supplies to forward areas, practice air delivery. Army Reserve hospital units join the staff of a post hospital to assist regular Army medical personnel. Some medics spend their 2 weeks with troops in the field. A unique type of organization in the Army Reserve is the Civil Affairs Unit. Composed of selected personnel from civil government, teachers, lawyers, policemen, and expert linguists, the Civil Affairs units move into an area simulating conquered territory and conduct a field exercise in restoring civil order among the population. The Army Reserve has its own Special Forces units. The Green Berets practice airdrops behind the lines and infiltrate into simulated enemy territory. During the summer season, annual active duty training takes place all over the continental U.S. and at various overseas locations. When training takes place far from home stations, armor and heavy weapons are procured from equipment pools on the day of arrival. This Army Reserve Infantry Brigade is one of many units capable of backing up the regular Army in combat. 2 weeks of hard training will bring the brigade up to a high degree of fighting readiness. By the dawn's early light of their first morning in camp, the sleepy civilian soldiers fall out. Quickly they readjust to Army discipline. Drivers gain additional experience when the troops are transported to bivouac areas and firing ranges. En route, traffic is controlled by military policemen. It isn't long before advanced infantry training is in full swing. Mortar units learn to drive into position and set up their weapons rapidly to lay down a barrage of fire. Training with live ammunition, the Army Reserve machine gunners soon demonstrate proficiency in the handling of their deadly weapons and accuracy in firing. They respect the wallop of the recoilless rifle, the infantryman's close-in weapon against tanks. Realistic combat problems, such as the taking of a strong point held by the enemy, are tackled by infantrymen. Taking advantage of cover available, they move up on the enemy position in the woods. Fixing their bayonets, they rush the woods for the final onslaught. When prisoners are taken, they are brought before the intelligence officer for interrogation. A major war exercise is a realistic river crossing under simulated combat conditions. Smoke screens are laid down to hide the action from the enemy. Aggressor troops hold the opposite bank of the river and must be routed. Then the engineers lay down a pontoon bridge so the main body of troops can cross over. The action builds to a climax when all elements of the brigade are committed. Tough, realistic training such as this is the reason why the Army Reserve is ready. At the end of the rugged 2 weeks training, the brigade in all its awesome might is massed. Major General W.J. Sutton, Chief Army Reserve, is there to inspect them, congratulate them, and present individual awards for jobs well done. Finally, the brigade passes in review. Strength in reserve, as vital today to the defense of the nation as it has been throughout the history of the Republic. The citizen soldier, as ready today to take up arms against tyranny as were the embattled farmers of Lexington and Concord in the dawn of our history as a nation. Throughout all our wars, they were there. The United States Army Reserve is an organization with its roots in the past and its eyes in the future. Its major concern will always be its people, their numbers, their quality, their readiness, and their willingness to carry on the tradition of the citizen soldier in the defense of this great nation.